And in this video I'm going to be adding my first contrasting color, which is this kind of dusty rose color. And that's going to be the main field behind the word Esme. I like to have at least 2 rows of a color, sometimes 3, surrounding the whole word. The object is to fill in the outline about like this around the whole word. And then I will see how much blank I have to deal with, and that helps me decide what else I can put on the ball, what kind of designs or any additional letters that I would put on it. But the most important thing is the first name. I'm going to start over here. What I'm going to be doing is trying to squeeze in a row here, because I'm going to be joining this. I could technically join it now, but there's just enough room for 1 row of color. So that's kind of how I'm going to approach this. First of all, I want to fill in the eye of this E, the loop of the E. Now, you can see here that I skipped a stitch here. I could go in there, but I'm going to reach back and I'm going to go between these 2 stitches that I skipped. I don't know, I just like the look. Nothing fancy. I could do it here too. And here. And now it's really just time to close that up. I can just reach across that space. It's so small. All right. That's pretty good. Now, like I said, I could actually close this up, but I really want a line of color between these 2 rows of white. More so because I didn't leave as much space between the M and the E as I did between the S and M and the E and the S. So I'm going to make it a very shallow row. I'm not going to tack it onto the ball. I'm going to maybe pull it in just a little bit so that I can get this line of color in before I join the rows. All right, now you can see these 2 pink lines really are right next to each other. So we're going to join those 2 lines. Now, one typical way of doing that would be to be a whip stitch. So there'd be a solid line connecting each of these stitches. But in the past few years, I've taken to doing kind of a zipper type of braid, a way of joining 2 lines, and I'll show you that. I'm going to go underneath each stitch opposite. I find it looks a little better than doing a whip stitch, or maybe I just prefer the look that I get when I do this. To me, it looks as though there's hardly a break in the fabric that I'm creating here. doesn't look as much like a seam as it does when I use the whip stitch. Okay, I'm going to do something I rarely do, but my thread is here, and normally I would just continue going around this way, but I find that there's a gap here and I want to fill it, so I'm going to do a backward, a single backward stitch. That kind of fills it in a little bit for me, and I'll go under here just to get. Now it provided an extra stitch in that space, in that gap, so I feel like I can just keep going down the line. There. I like that. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to go under here and start down here. So now that line is pretty straight, which will be nice. It'll be easier for me to get a nice smooth edge. And I'm running low on the yarn on my needle, so I think I'll stop right here. And reload my needle. Okay, now I'm going to join these two seams. I'm going to use my zipper looking approach here. I think that's pretty good. Tighten that up, the laces a little bit. And maybe I'll do one of those little backwards stitches here before I continue. Yeah, that's good. I think I will move up to the top of the M here. And go around. I'm satisfied with that. I think I'll mention here that another aspect of my personal technique that some people have asked me about is, you know, I think most people just take this loop when they do their stitch. Not only do I also grab some of the ball underneath it, I also tend to grab just a fiber or two from the row behind it. So in this case, the green. So instead of just picking up this white stitch, I'll pick up just a fiber or two of the green, and then the white, and then a little bit of the ball. Now, why do I do that? I think it just developed. I developed it as a way of, if I just took this loop, I'll show you. If I just took the white loop, there always seemed to be a little bit of the white, of the color of the ball underneath, peeking through a little gap. And I haven't liked that very much. I like my yarn to completely cover whatever the color is of the ball. So I find that by grabbing just a few hairs, just a couple fibers from the row behind, I'm able to drag that over and cover whatever little gap would have been between there. And then, of course, anchoring my stitches to the ball, that's the picking up a bit of the ball beneath. So those are two different things in one stitch. And somebody asked, the result of my doing this is that my the fields of my the surface of my balls tend to look more woven. Whereas if you just grab the stitch, the final result tends to look a little bit more, have a little bit more of a braided finish. Nothing wrong with it, just a personal preference. That's why I do it. And I don't really do it, it's pretty much unconscious at this point. I don't do it consciously, I just do it. And there's nothing wrong with not doing it. Well, I would say most people don't do that. But I have been asked about it in the past, so I thought I would just explain myself. Why are you doing that weird thing? Or how is it that your stitches look more woven than braided? That's why. I don't have much left on my needle, so I'll see if I can get all the way up to the corner with this. Oops. One more. And off. Someone left a comment in the comment section after part 3, saying that it was very relaxing watching the process of making a singlet ball. Thank you, James. Shout out to James. I'm glad. I'm glad it's enjoyable and relaxing. I don't expect anybody to feel obligated to watch the entire video. It could be just as well be not relaxing but boring for some people. That's all right. I like any hobby, you know, there's a lot of value to slowing down and just relaxing, and it's almost like meditation. You're thinking only about one thing. It's kind of like breathing, concentrating on breathing in, breathing out. And this is just concentrating on taking one stitch at a time. And that can be the whole world for the moment. It's a very relaxing thing to do. So on close here, I think I can join these two seams. Right. Another thing that's very relaxing to watch is, you can find it on YouTube. It was something done in Norway. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they did it for a number of years. It's called slow TV. And they found that the Norwegian people loved it. And it was just a slow down, take your time, just meditative, long watch of television. The first one, I believe, was the train. The train from the coast. It was a train from the coast to the city of Bergen, I believe. And it was a 7-hour program. And they just set a camera on the front of the engine and drove through the countryside. And they went through the tunnels. And each tunnel, it showed how many meters long it was, so you knew how long you were going to be in the tunnel. You could see the light at the end of the tunnel come closer and closer. I watched all 7 hours of that while I was knitting, I think, or maybe I was making a singlet ball. I don't remember, but I remember sitting down and watching that whole thing. And it was meditation. It was so peaceful to do it. Another one that was very popular was they put the camera off the side of not a ferry boat, a ship. I don't remember the name of the ship, but it was part of the Hurtigruten line that they have many ships in their line that go up and down the western coast of Norway, up to the Arctic Circle and back down. And when the Norwegian people found out that this slow TV was going to be on the Hurtigruten, they came out. They came out to watch the ship go by and wave their Norwegian flags, and bands played, and civic groups got together and made signs and greeted the ship as it sailed by. So you can watch clips of the ship, of that trip too. And then you can just, I mean, that's what you do when you take the ship. I've been on the Hurtigruten, and you just kind of sit up on the deck and you watch the Norwegian coast go by. Very, very nice. Very enjoyable. Another one was, I don't remember how long it took. I mean, several hours, 8 hours or more, to make a sweater. And they took it from the whole process from beginning to end, shearing sheep, carding, washing and spinning the wool, and then knitting the different parts of the sweater. And they had a whole team of experts in each area doing their part. And by the end of the hours-long show, they had a sweater. I know it sounds silly, but so fascinating it's fascinating to just sit and watch something simple. It gave a lot of joy. Okay, I have finished the first way around the M with the rows, and I think the object with the second row is to make it as even as possible. This is a little zigzaggy here, and I'll want to make it even out. So I want to take a little stitch here in this space just to try to even things out a little bit. And I'll come back here, do that again. One little stitch there. Let's try to make this a little more even. And I'm even gonna try it up here, I think. And maybe another couple stitches to try to make this a little more even. So anyway, I invite you to consider this series about making this ball as something akin to Norway's slow TV, and just for the purposes of relaxing it and getting your mind away from everything else. I'll take one stitch here, I think. Okay, now we're going to go back. And complete the second row around. Oh, I leaned a little too forward with the camera there. That was an abrupt interruption to your meditative video. Just checking to see if you're still awake. Are you still watching? Why? Why? Go to the kitchen and get a glass of water. That was my knuckle hitting the lamp. There. That looks pretty nice. So I'm gonna stop. We're over 42 minutes now on this video. That's a good chunk of relaxing slow TV. So to the threes of people who watch this channel, I say thank you for watching, and tune in for part 5 when I do the rest of the background field for the name. Thank you.